Let's say you're working in data analytics team of a company and Tom asks you to automate his current workflow. Tom's current setup includes 3 Python codes. The first code downloads some data from the web and extracts it as an Excel file. Second code analyzes it and creates a pivot table and extracts as Excel file. Finally, the third code would take that pivot table, perform some formatting on final report to make it presentable and save it in place for the user. Let's quickly take a look at each 3 codes. Now each code depends on the output of earlier code to run properly, and if any of our code 1 or 2 did not work, our whole process will fall apart. To address this issue, we will use subprocess library of Python to set up our workflow. Subprocess library takes the name of program and file location to run it. On the screen you can see the documentation for the subprocess. You can read through it in detail. I have this empty code right here. Let's start writing our code. The first thing we will do is we will import subprocess. Now subprocess takes the name of program and file location to run it, so we will say subprocess.run in square brackets. First argument you will give is the program name, so we will say Python. The second argument is the file location, so we will give the location of the file along with an R, which stands for raw. If you don't want to write R here, you can just change these to backslashes. Now we can put this equal to code1 variable, so let's say code1 equals this, and this is good to run. So let's try to run this. Let me remove these 2 files. Let me run this, and we should be able to see our file that is being created here. Okay, we have our file. Now we will use the return code property of subprocess to identify whether our code ran successfully or not. The return code returns 0, means our code ran properly. If it returns 1, then we had run into some issue which needs to be addressed. So let's create another variable as code1 underscore status. So we'll say code1 underscore status equals. This will be equal to the result of above code, which is code1, and we will add dot return code, and then we can just print it here. Now, to make sure that our code runs successfully, I'm going to remove this file again, and in the original code, I'm just going to change the path to the URL a bit, just to make sure that subprocess can detect if there's an error in the code. So I just added 5050 here in the URL, save and close. Let me clear this and run this again, and this time around we should get 1 from the result of this code. Because the URL was not correct, we should not be able to run the code. So we can see 1 here. So let me go back and fix that URL, clear this. And now that we know our code works, we can now use if else before each code to make sure it only runs if earlier code returns 0. I'm going to format the code a bit and create the if else and then explain the rest of the code. This has been done. I also imported sys library, system library. In case something goes wrong, we can just exit the code right there. So the first code is the same as before. For the next one, I added an if else. So if the status of code 1 equals 0, only then we want our second code to run, which is here, code 2. We will do the same thing. If code 2 ran successfully, then only code 3 should run. So let's run each of these to make sure our process workflow is working. Okay, we get a 0 here. We can confirm this that our file has been created. Now let's run code 2. This should create the pivot table file. Okay, we have the pivot table file as well. Let's open up really quick to check. Okay, we can see that this is all jumbled up and the formatting is all messed up. So the next code will fix it. Let's run this one. This will make sure that if only the code 2 has 0 status here, only then this code 3 should run. Run it, and it ran properly. Let's quickly take a look at the pivot file to make sure it has been formatted. And we can see right here it has been formatted with auto column width fixed, the merge and center removed, and the header column formatted. This all has been set up now and tested. You can put it on a task scheduler, and we can go a step further to integrate it via Skype as well. So if there's an error, you can get an instant message on Skype about it, or you can add any other integration like Teams or anything else that you normally work with. If this video helped you out, please show support by hitting the like and subscribe button, and also check out other videos on this channel. Till next time, happy coding.